All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking the socio-political mechanics and the absolutely fascinating lore of the fictional world of eternal twilight. We're diving into a really incredible story, one that uses science fiction to hold a mirror right up to our own society's obsession with youth, productivity, and frankly, space. It's a journey into a future where humanity has actually solved its oldest biological problem, death, only to create a completely unprecedented sociological nightmare.
So let's just sit with this thought experiment for a second. What really happens when nobody ever dies? In the world of eternal twilight, things like cellular senescence reversal and telomere stabilization, yeah, they've completely conquered death. But here's the catch. Physical space and human attention become the absolute only true scarcities left. Humanity cured aging, sure, but in doing so, they literally set the stage for a society bursting at the seams. It fundamentally changes what it means to live a purposeful life.
Which brings us to part 1. The cost of immortality. To really grasp what kicks off our protagonist, Elias Voss's journey, we first have to look at his home, New Geneva. Picture a suffocatingly sanitized, futuristic city where everyone walks around looking, 25 to 35 forever. Sounds great, right? But this eternal biological youth comes at a massive price, profound societal stagnation. If you think about Earth before the cure, we had natural limits, an expanding population, abundant kids running around. But now, the population is totally stagnant. Children are strictly rationed. They're rarely brought into the world because, simply put, the old minds never leave. It's this closed, permanent loop where the youth are deprived of a future, all because the elders flat out refuse to become history.
So how exactly does a global government manage a population that literally never dies? Well, they use something called the contribution index. It is a cold, statutory metric that tracks, intimately, a citizen's lifetime productivity, creativity, and social utility. Basically, once an immortal score flatlines for 20 consecutive years, Global Accord 47 kicks in, and they are forcibly retired to make room for the young. And this is exactly what happens to our protagonist, Elias Voss, a brilliant orbital architect on his 180th birthday. He gets a physical letter, which is an absolute rarity in this digital world, just plainly stating that his exile is not optional.
The bureaucratic coldness of this whole process is just staggering. You get your notice, you have exactly 30 days to pack up your life, and then you're stuffed onto a transport ship called the Threshold for a 4-month journey. Elias actually finds himself on this ship with 2,000 other furious, brilliant retirees. We're talking highly accomplished people here like Mara Kade, a foundational neuroethicist. They're being summarily shipped from a perfected Earth to a distant mandatory colony. It's just a chillingly efficient way to discard human beings the second they're deemed no longer useful or novel.
Moving on to part 2, Exiled to the Twilight. After that grueling 4-month journey, the exiles arrive at Persephone. It's this scarred marble of a planet orbiting a dim orange dwarf star, light years away from the comfortable perfection of New Geneva. Now, Persephone is tidally locked, so on one side you've got the day side, locked in perpetual light with blinding heat and mummifying radiation. On the flip side, there's the night side, completely swallowed in eternal darkness and flash-frozen by cryogenic storms. The colony itself, New Horizon, exists entirely in a precarious, narrow little ribbon of eternal twilight right between these two brutal extremes. Effectively, Earth took its brightest retired minds and trapped them between a burning desert and a frozen graveyard.
And to add to the weirdness, the gravity on Persephone is 0.92 Earth standard. It's close enough to feel almost right, but deeply, fundamentally off. Combine that slightly weird gravity with the bizarre environment of the Twilight Zone, which is full of this strange, silver-leafed genetic vegetation photosynthesizing under a dim red sun, and the whole place feels incredibly alien. For the Earthborn exiles, there is no day or night cycle anymore. They completely lack a circadian rhythm now, which adds to this heavy psychological disorientation that sets in almost the moment they land.
Living in New Horizon is, frankly, a jarring existence. It's all synthetic coffee and domed habitats bathed in eternal half-light. The utopian facade they were sold cracks pretty much immediately. But you see an unspoken resistance start forming among skeptics like Elias, a fusion engineer named Jonah Hale, a zero-gravity composer named Lena, and a quiet historian named Marcus. They start noticing something really strange about the few children actually born in the colony. These native-born kids have an eerie, deep focus and show fundamental biological brain adaptations from being raised without a solar cycle. The environment isn't just changing their daily habits, it is actively rewriting human biology.
Let's get into part 3, the illusion of freedom. The colony's coordinators, strutting around in their crisp white uniforms, promised the exiles a utopia where, quote, time has no dominion. But Elias? He isn't buying it.
He borrows an old, untracked rover from Jonah's workshop and actually drives out into the forbidden extreme zones of the planet. And what he finds out there is a dark secret that completely shatters everything they've been told. He finds collapsed human domes, melted solar arrays, and mummified bodies just left out in the extremes. Digging through hidden survey data in the Forbidden Archives, he realizes New Horizon was never meant to be a permanent settlement. Persephone's orbit is decaying. The habitable twilight band is actively narrowing due to tidal drift. Earth knew this when they built it. The colony is literally nothing more than a pressure valve in a dumping ground with a geographical expiration date.
Which brings us to this incredibly chilling realization from an 11-year-old native girl named Soren. She stands up and tells the colony, "I know what balance feels like, and this place is losing it." Because of her unique biology, Soren can actually feel the planet screaming as the light side tries to burn everything and the dark side tries to eat the warmth. When she says those words during a massive amphitheater gathering, it's the ultimate emotional catalyst. 800 furious retirees suddenly fully realize they aren't pioneers, they're disposable waste. But right then and there, they decide they're absolutely not going to just fade away.
So, what exactly do brilliant, immortal architects and engineers do when they are pushed to the brink? Well, instead of pure, destructive violence, they execute a brilliant, coordinated strike using their own immense utility. First, they just stop working. No more maintenance quotas. No more playing along with orientation sessions. Done. Second, they sabotage the landing pads, purely to delay coordinator reinforcements from the orbital station above. And third, this is the killing blow. They use Lena's zero-gravity symphony, woven together with Soren's eerie wordless singing, to broadcast a massive transmission of truth right back to Earth, declaring once and for all that they are not disposable.
And that takes us to part 4, forging a new balance.
As resources dwindle, the agitation on the colony reaches its absolute peak, really teetering on the edge of chaos. And then, surprisingly, Earth finally responds to the transmission. But not with military force. Instead, they issue a new directive offering full repatriation and resources to anyone who wants to return to the immortal stagnation of New Geneva. It's basically a surrender wrapped in benevolence. But Elias, Soren, and many others, they reject the offer. They choose to stay on Persephone. Over the years, they take total control of their destiny. In a movement that becomes known as the Second Dawn, they deliberately expand the colony out into the extreme light and dark zones. They build a true hybrid society that values both memory and reinvention, bravely straddling the intense day side and the quiet night side.
Now back on Earth, because of this massive rebellion, the contribution index quietly becomes optional. Earth finally learns from Persephone's example that immortality doesn't have to mean endless mind-numbing repetition. Meanwhile, the colony adopts this incredibly powerful new motto, "We retire from nothing." They even carve it onto a massive new pinnacle in the center of their city. It's this ultimate proof that even under a fixed sun, on a dying, tidally locked world, humans can still stubbornly adapt, grow, and fundamentally change.
So, I'm going to leave you with this thought to ponder today. How do we deliberately forge balance in our own lives before we are forced into the extremes? This explainer really reminds us that true balance isn't just found by accident in the middle of our comfort zones. It is built deliberately and bravely by embracing life's dualities. Thanks so much for joining me to explore the fascinating world of eternal twilight. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.